Over the last few weeks, every man and his dog have gave their opinions on what's gone wrong with Destiny 2, so I thought I'd throw my hat in the ring. Player counts are at some of the lowest, if not the lowest we've ever seen, sentiment is not even on the floor, it is buried, and a lot of people are blaming the portal for the current Destiny situation. There's no doubt that the portal is bad, that the power grind absolutely stinks, but Destiny 2's biggest problem isn't the portal, it's Bungie. Now this is not going to be a hate video or me just slandering Bungie for the sake of it, because I still love Bungie's worlds and gameplay and games themselves, but there's no doubt that Destiny 2 has become bigger than Bungie. We've been here before, right? The end of Curse of Osiris into Forsaken, Lightfall into the final shape, and multiple other times, and somehow Bungie have always bounced back, but I just don't think they can this time. Because the proposition of playing Destiny 2 right now is playing a worse, less ambitious video game with the exact same content that you have played for the last 7 years. So why is that? Because in the past 2 years, Bungie has lost about 35% of its workforce, and they now have a whole other live service game to get out of the door that has had the worst possible start imaginable, and it's not even out yet. When Bungie struggled heading into Forsaken, Vicarious Visions and High Moon Studios doubled down that gave us, I would argue, the biggest and most meaningful expansion of the franchise's life cycle. And when the final shape needed to satisfyingly conclude a whole saga, they delayed, and they were all hands on deck when they still had a big workforce around it. And they made an incredible experience. But when you then lose around 35% of your workforce, the people responsible for that experience, and a whole other game to support, how can we be surprised that Destiny is the way it is now? Had Bungie reinvested into Destiny and doubled down on it, where Marathon wasn't made, where side projects like the third-person Destiny game or the MOBA weren't spun off, I think we'd sit here and we'd be excited about the trajectory of the franchise. I say all of this as someone that's took a backseat when it comes to playing Destiny 2. I played the Edge of Fate, I did the first Arms Week, got the cool hand cannon shotgun, and then I log in every week for 30 seconds to check the Bright Dust section in the Eververse, and I spin out, and that's it. I just have no desire to regularly play Destiny like this. The proposition of Destiny 2 right now is to play all the stuff that you have played over the past 7 years, grind for hours and hours to get the fancy new gear, to then run them same activities again, but harder? I think there's some cool concepts in weapon tiers and armor 3.0, even within the portal itself and its modifiers. But when the core of your game is focused around an arbitrary number that you have spent the last 3 years devaluing, you must be joking if you think I want to play that. Additions like Fireteam power and Guardian power across your different characters, the minimal bumps that were introduced from season to season, and then you want us to repeatedly grind the same activities over and over just to do them with more modifiers and make it harder? So you might say, yeah, then it is the portal that's the problem. I don't think it is. I think if you take the portal away, nearly all of the problems remain. It comes back to what I said about Destiny being bigger than Bungie. I think the portal was a means to put central focus on certain content, so that's where Bungie's time can be spent, because the game is bigger than the current team. And I think it shows. I mean, look at the content that's been introduced into the Edge of Fate. There's like one activity to do on Kepler, we've had an exotic mission that by all accounts is just awful, and then Ash and Iron had an activity that everyone just seemed to frankly hate. The problem isn't the portal, it's the content. The idea and the concept of the portal was to produce this repetitive cycle for players to play over and over again, because I don't think Bungie have got the resources to produce meaningful content to keep people engaged elsewhere. And I think it shows across the board really, in the focus on replayability, whether that's the epic raid, whether it's campaign missions having mythic and world tiers, the idea is to squeeze out the most juice from each edition. The problem is that Bungie just aren't helping themselves here. It feels so cynical to play. I mean, new games can get away with excessive grinds because they are new, they are fresh, and they feel exciting. You cannot introduce the magnitude that this grind is into a game that is 8 years old. You can't do it. The way Portal feels designed was minimal rewards for maximum time. A loser should always have the principle of the chase right, something that Destiny itself moved away from for a couple of years with crafting. But now with this shit power grind, Destiny is a grind before the grind. Again, it's something that can work in a new game because you've not just spent years doing these activities to just do them again at a harder level. Just take Borderlands 4 as an example, right? Nobody cares about getting legendaries at level 20 in that game, even though they're basically useless, because you're doing fresh content that you haven't done yet as you progress towards endgame. Nobody wants to grind up doing stuff that they've already done to then grind it all again, doing that same stuff at a harder level for new items to then do the same stuff. Say what you want about seasons and episodes, but the idea was there would always be new activities coming, that it was worthwhile getting new weapons and grinding out if you wanted to play them at the hardest level. Other than the day one raid and master raid experience, what can you really say for the casual player that there's a point in getting a tier 4 or 5 now? But it's not just that the Portal grind feels cynical. Ashen Iron drops, and fair enough, right, you are clearly struggling to get the content output needed. But it feels like you're taking the piss if you drop in loads of new Eververse shit alongside it. Like, enough people have talked about the Iron Banner set that was found in the concept art and then it was reintroduced and all that controversy, right? But before all of that, how do we not have the capacity to go, we are struggling right now? Player sentiment and retention is at an all-time low. So why don't we take one of these armor sets, 2 of these armor sets, and we throw the player a bone? We say, you know what? Let's introduce these armor sets through the portal and make them some challenges or something that they have to complete so they can get these armor sets for free, because surely in the long term, that little bit of player goodwill will turn out maybe to future purchases if you want to be really optimistic about it. And maybe I'm out of my depth here and I'm talking absolute nonsense because I don't know the financials, that maybe it works out and people buy them. But when your game is struggling for numbers and it is struggling in terms of sentiment, surely can we not find a way to wiggle in something to give players chase? Even if it's not much, it goes a long way. Like I say, maybe the financials, they do work out for them. I'm really out of my depth, but man, throw the player more than one bone, and especially when the bone that you are throwing is a new activity filled with bugs and technical issues, man. And this is where it gets me, right? Because there are still a lot of talented people at the studio, because it does show in the game still. The narrative that took place in Edge of Fate, the additions in the crossbow, the hand cannon shotty, the axe exotic, some of Kepler's environments, the raid, and the people are still there. These will have had a hand in Dual Destiny, the Final Shape Excision mission. The problem is that the expectations of what Destiny is has become bigger than what the studio can currently manage. And for as many poor decisions that are made there, the real decimation of the game has come from the poor leadership over the years that has led to the reduction of the workforce and therefore the reduction of the content cadence. Like, we can't sit here and be surprised that probably a lot of the resources have gone over to Marathon, because it's a fresh chance. They have to make that a success. So sure, we may all love Destiny to bits, right? And I'm sure the people at Bungie do as well because of the amount of time they put into it. But at the end of the day, that's a fresh start. This is a game that is 8 years old now as a franchise 10. Should they have reinvested, as I said at the beginning of the video, into Destiny all that time ago? Yeah, but they didn't. So right now, when you're 8 years old, you can't get players into the franchise for the first time. It's a no-brainer, really, is it? That said, I do think there has to be accountability from the decisions made by Bungie around the game. And I think that's why it's hitting harder this time. Over the years, a lot of the Bungie W's, should we call them, have come from Bungie making a very important decision and then backtracking as a result of negative feedback. And it's cool when they do that, right? But that is not a sustainable way to build a live service game. Because how can you push forward if you're constantly retracing your steps? Let's say that the Portal was more generous of its power offerings, that weapon tiers were dropping as a result of the difficulty of activities and not an arbitrary power number. Bungie wouldn't have to spend so long rebalancing the core of the game again, so it could focus more on what's to come. Renegades now is seen more of a quality of life expansion than an exciting Star Wars inspired chapter. I'm very much armchair Devin here, making it all sound so easy, but the problem is Bungie very rarely feels like it develops with a player's best intention in mind. In terms of the quality of the content, sure, but from a progression standpoint, I'm not sure. I can't imagine anyone at Bungie playtesting the power grinder being like, "Whoa, get me back in that chair, get me back in the Caldera mines, and I'll sit there for another hour for 3 power levels." No! I'll also get a little bit of stick for this, but alongside Bungie not knowing what kind of game Destiny should be, I don't think the community does either. They want the seasonal content, they don't want the seasonal content. They want time-gated week-to-week story, they don't want time-gated week-to-week story. They want one big expansion, they want content spread out, they want crafting, they want a loot chase. It's all just a bit messy. But as with any game of this magnitude, you do have to cater to those who play it as a livelihood, and those that want to just play an hour or 2 a week. That said, I'm seeing all sorts of nonsense revisionism here. I mean, people were talking about Season of Plunder like it was God's gift. Season of Plunder? Are you off your head, mate? What people miss is the content cadence, not the structure of it. I also don't comment much on social media drama because it gets way too toxic, but I will say this. If you truly want Destiny 2 to become a better game again, you're not going to get it by hammering DMG with abuse on Twitter. You're not going to get it by abusing any dev on Twitter. You're not going to get it by blaming content creators for the current state of Destiny. You'll get it by being constructive. In most cases, content creators are just fans like others of video games. The people who work on games love them just as much too. I'm often saddened by just how bad video game discourse has become. I just wish it was better, man. And we can sit here and we can say, well, Destiny 3 then, but it's too late. Current Bungie isn't big enough to think about that with Marathon. Are Sony going to want to back it and give him 4, 5, 6 years off? How much video games might even change at that point? Is Destiny 3 even viable? I'd love it, but I'll also be 5 or 6 years older. There may be something more appealing, you don't know. And I just hate to be so down about a franchise that has given me some of my best gaming moments in raids and dungeons and just stupid shenanigans with friends, right? But even if the portal is ripped out of the game and the power grind is made easier, more access to weapon tiers, I don't see a way that Destiny 2 can possibly recover in the way we all want it to. Whether that's from a content standard, a technical level, or just consistently decent sentiment. From my 8th group of friends that I play Destiny 2 regularly with, only one remains, and he's just a PvP weirdo, mate. I mean, he knows I love him, but it just goes to show, and these people adored playing Destiny together, and in the end, the way and how cynical it feels, it's burned them all out, including myself. I'd have loved to have seen Destiny 2 go up a level after the final shape, whether that was a Destiny 3, or an expanded Destiny 2 that goes further with the concepts of dual Destiny, bringing more of its raid mechanics and wonders to more content. That fleshes out the concept of weapon tiers in its Armor 3.0, so they aren't left half-baked behind a mountain of a grind to climb first. I'm going to play Renegades. I suspect I'll really enjoy it with its Star Wars inspired moments. I'll play the dungeon, and I hope that changes with the portal and power, and that somehow every update doesn't bring a slew of new technical issues. I'm getting Marvel Avengers PTSD over here all over again. But the problem isn't the portal or the power. It's Bungie's constant inability to generate momentum through backtracking on important choices. It's the nickel and diming of every last cent they can grab over a player, then generating a little bit of goodwill every now and then. It's the fact that this is a studio that I have no doubt that everyday developers are trying the best, but they just don't have the firepower to continue to realise the vision that Destiny 2 can be. I really hope I'm wrong, man, and that this game can make a comeback, but the light is starting to dim on this franchise for me. I'd love to hear your thoughts on whether you agree or disagree with me on this one. Regardless, if you enjoyed hearing mine, consider leaving a like or a hype. And this is the kind of content I do. Just bog standard stuff, my own opinion, news, reviews, guide streams. So if you like that, consider subscribing. Regardless, I hope you have a terrific day. Play games, get gains, and I will catch you in the next one.